Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, What If Kings. Sorry I haven't been on for a while. I started school a week ago, and yeah, so I didn't really have time, but now I have time. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. Let's get started. So we left off where they just uncloaked themselves inside of the hidden cloud villages, Hokage's office where they were having the meeting, and they uncloaked themselves. But this was by accident, because Naruto was too busy talking to Danzo, and he kind of lost focus for a second, and it went down because he have to be completely focused. And when he lost focus, it went down, and they saw them, and Naruto was like, he was like, damn it, abort mission, and he teleported them back, and he tells Danzo and them, he gives Danzo the rest of the report and everything, tells them about their new secret weapon. And what I mean by like the Nine Tails has evolved, like before they didn't know that the Nine Tails chakra has grown. Not now, but like when he attacked the Leaf Village, his chakra has grown because he just gotten older, and he's older than the not 8 Tails. But I'm gonna say about a year or something. I don't know. Let's just make it like that. The older you are, the stronger you are, and he's probably like tens of thousands of years old, and the 8 Tails is probably like 1,000 some, probably 8,000 years old. So he's like, he doesn't know, he thought his chakra was still the same as it was before. So yeah, so he's on par with the old Nine Tails chakra, which is a lot. And so, yeah, and Danzo was like, well, that's fine. And then they're sitting there, and he tells Naruto and them that they have to get ready for their next mission. Assignment: help the Mist Village. The Mist Village, let's do a flashback. While Naruto and them were gone, the Mist Village came in. The leader of the Mist Village, or the Hokage for the Mist Village, came in. It was the old Kage. What was it, Kazakage or something like that? Yeah. Came in and said that they need help. There's a war going on, and they need some help. And the Minato says they'll help them, but they have to have an alliance. And they started talking, blah blah blah, and they agreed. And Danzo said he'll send some of his umbos. They'll get it done. Minato said, "Are you sure, Danzo?" And he was suspicious of Danzo, but he agreed. And he says, "Fine." He says, "When my best umbos get back from a mission, I'll send them." In the flashback. And so he told them that they are in a war with the hidden sound village, and they need help. And so blah blah blah, they're helping. Danzo sends them. He says you'll be heading to the battlefield in 2 days. Rest up and train and whatever. So Naruto needed that little 2-day training trip because he heard that Menma and Mito had got summonings from Jiraiya. Not from Jiraiya. From some other Jonin that were passing by him. They were talking about it. They're like, they already got summoned and they're only 15 because they're now 15 now. And he says, I guess I'm gonna need a summon too. And then that's when Trigon and the Grand Priest heard that they're like, summon, is there any beings that could be your summon? And Naruto says, well, I think I have one in mind. And so yeah. So Naruto was going, him and I forgot what I named her. Naruto's girlfriend. Where is she? I forgot what I named her. Oh god. Okay guys, I'm gonna change the name one last time. I'm gonna name her Saber. Cause I was watching before I did this, I was watching Fate, and yeah. So I'm gonna name her Saber. Him and Saber went, and Saber's sitting down with Cerberus. They are playing, and Cerberus got tired, so he went to go lay on Saber's lap. And Naruto says, "I'll be doing the summoning." And Naruto does the hand signs, and he does the summon. And him, Saber, and Cerberus disappears. And they open their eyes, and there's just these two beings fighting. And Naruto looks up and says, "Well, I guess that's Tim." And that's when Cerberus, he looks up, and he some debris flies towards Saber, and Cerberus gets upset and grows to his normal size, which is massive. And he's looking at them, and he can talk. He says, "Stop." He calls Saber and Naruto the king and queen. He says the king and queen are here. Watch yourselves. And that's when this is actually Ghidorah and Godzilla. And they look over, and he says, "You will bow." And then Godzilla and Ghidorah are looking like, "Who are you to talk to us like that?" And he realized who they are, and that's when Cerberus says, "Is that you, Godzilla and Ghidorah?" And he was like, "Cerberus, is that you?" And then they're all old friends, and like, "How are you doing?" And then they run towards him, hug him, blah blah blah, old friend stuff. And he was like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "I'm here with my master." They ask who could tame you, and he says, "Her." And he points at Saber, and they're like, "Oh, she must be pretty strong, but who's the brat?" And Cerberus says, I would watch your mouth because he's powerful." And they say they want to test that by fighting him. And Naruto says if he wins, they'll become his summons, his personal summons. And he says, "Fine." And they say fine. And then that's when Godzilla and Ghidorah gets ready to fight Naruto. Naruto, he says they'll be helping him train, actually. So Naruto is he's getting ready, and there's some abilities he haven't used. And Naruto's fighting them hand to hand, and Ghidorah's shooting lightning at him, making lightning storms and stuff. Godzilla is hitting with massive power because he's like 9,000 and something pounds and 400 feet. So, and Ghidorah is like 10,000 some feet and I don't know how many pounds. And they're just wailing on Naruto. And Naruto is fighting them hand to hand. And he says Dark Nebula. Not the same one. They're actually like lasers, like Superman's. And he shoots them out of his eyes. They're red and black. And they just decimate the mountain and push Godzilla and Ghidorah back. And then he flies in, punching Godzilla. And he grabs Ghidorah's tail, swinging him around and throwing him. And he releases energy blast. It's like a red and black sun. Obviously, he already used this. And he shoots it at them. And he smashes his fist into Godzilla, putting them out of commission. And he heals them. And he says, "I win." And they says, "Kid, you're strong." And then they're looking at Saber, and she's just staring at them. And she's pretty quiet. She doesn't show it. She doesn't show her emotions a lot. And they're like, she must be powerful too. He's like, "Yeah, she's on par with me." And she is. Well, she's not at his level, but she's close. And they were like, And then they make the contract. And Naruto says, "Well, I'll be training here with you guys for 2 days." Saber and Cerberus are just training inside of their in their uh inside of her god mode. It's basically like it's like KCM, but it's different. Hers is like red. Her hair just turned into a fiery red. She becomes the queen of hell, basically. Yeah, well, she already is. But Naruto and them are not training in the dimension that Ghidorah and Godzilla were in. He takes them to Trigon's old dimension, and they see every demon down there bowing. And Naruto says, "We'll be training here." And they said, "Fine." And he actually are boosting their power with his. So Godzilla is always inside of his burning form now. And Ghidorah is just, his lightning is not yellow anymore. It is actually purple now. And he is like a black, he's black and purple. Now, yeah, he's black and purple. And they're training with him. And Naruto has now unlocked Ultra Instinct, but like instead of his Ultra Instinct looking like Goku's, it's different. It's obviously red and black. I'm kind of obsessed with the color at this point. It's red and black. And Naruto says, "Oof," and he wipes the sweat off of him. But before that, he changed his DNA to that of a Saiyan because he remembered Goku and them had a lot of powerful forms. So now he has, but he remembered Goku Blacks. He has Super Saiyan Rose, Super Saiyan Rose 2, Super Saiyan Rose 3, and then he has just normal Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan God Blue form. Yeah. And he has just, yeah, he's just powerful. And he learns like different, since he can do magic, he learns how to transmute different objects, and he can also make beings and bestow power upon them. So like this is like the second day, but they are not leaving it. Their mission was delayed for another day. So they actually have 3 days just delayed. So Naruto thought he should build himself an army, which every great conqueror needs an army because he's trying to conquer the universe. So he remembers the Saiyans the from the Grand Priest's universe, and he remembers Superman's from Trigon's universe. And so he mixed the DNA of both of them, and he's training all of them, like, so they are powerful, just trust me. So they have Superman's power, super strength, super speed, durability, stamina, all of that. And then they have Goku's power, Kaioken, what else? The different Saiyan forms, all of that. And then he has 2 Shadow Assassins. Sorry guys. Actually, he has an assassin squad and he has an attack squad and all of that. And then they got demon DNA as well, so they can inhabit someone's body once they die and all of that. And he has 1,000 and Saber has 1,000. So she has her own little army, but she doesn't prefer to have them, so she let Naruto keep them. But the 2 of the Shadow Assassins are there to protect her at all times. She tried to deny it, but she couldn't. So yeah, even though she doesn't need protecting, they're about Goku's level after, let's see, they're Goku's level when he was, all of those, they're Goku's level when he finished fighting Beerus, or when he was inside Super Saiyan God fighting Beerus. So yeah, they haven't got past the normal Super Saiyan God. So yeah. And he says, "You all be working for me now, blah blah blah." And he gets ready for his mission. He leaves the dimension, And Cerberus turns small and jumps on Saber's shoulder because he's always with her. He never leaves her side. The two shadow assassins leave as well because they have to watch Saber at all times. Naruto and them walks out of a portal and says Lord Dunzo, because they respect Dunzo at this point, but they don't trust him. And that's when Naruto says, "Are you ready?" And Saber says yes. Well, she nods her head, say yes. And that's when Itachi says he's ready. But there's someone else with him, and they ask, "Who is this?" And he says, "My name is Kakashi Hatake, and this is my team." And his team is Sasuke, Sakura, and Sai. And then Kushina says, "My name is Kushina Uzumaki, and this is my team, Menma, Mito, and let's see who else to put on that team. Menma, Mito, and Hinata." And they say, "Nice to meet you. We're going to be accompanying you on this mission." Naruto looks at Danzo, and Danzo nods his head. And Naruto says, "Alright, let's get moving." So Naruto wanted to teleport, but after Saber told him that he had to run next time, that's what they're doing. He could have beat them all there, and then Saber would have came in right behind him, like a few seconds behind him, or a few minutes, because she can only break the sound barrier. So yeah. But he's running at a high Hokage level speed. And he's just running, and they get there. And he says the mission is to help them wipe out the army. First, we have to go see. And then Kushina cuts him off and says, we'll be taking over this mission." And that's when Naruto looks, and Itachi says, "Well, actually, he is team leader. So, Kushina, I would advise you be quiet." And she says, "Do you know who I am?" And he says, "Yes, I know who you are, but he's team leader, and you will respect him as so." And Minmin Mito gets angry, says, "How dare you talk to our mother like that?" And Hinata was like, "Yeah, how dare you talk to my mother-in-law like that?" And Naruto says, "That's enough, everyone quiet." And he says, "Saber, send Cerberus, you and Cerberus go to see the Mizukage." And she says, "Okay." And then she nods her head and they disappear. He says, "Itachi, me and you will be heading to the battlefield. The rest of you, we don't care. I don't care. You're just here to accompany. You really irrelevant." And Itachi and Naruto arrive at the battlefield. But we're gonna go up to Saber. Saber arrives inside of the room with Hokage name. She was like, "Who are you?" Well, no, this is the old Mizukage. The new one, I forgot her name. Oh, hold on, guys. Let me find out her name. It was Mia or Maya, something like that. I forgot how to say it. Her name. But we're just gonna say Mia. We're just gonna say Mia. And she's there because she's just a Jonin at this time. And she says, "Who are you?" And she says, "I'm here as an informant to tell you that we have arrived." And she says, "How many of you?" She says, "Well, there are 2 Jonins, 3 Ambu, and 6 Guinea." And they're like, and someone from the council says, "Is the Leaf Village trying to play with us?" And she was like, "I assure you, the Jonin and the Guinea are useless, but the Ambu, we can take care of this." And he says, "How can you be sure?" And she says, "Well, have you heard of I'm gonna change Naruto's name's alias from Saber's name is They called her the Crimson Demon, and Naruto they call him uh they just call him the Devil. Yeah. So the Crimson Demon and the Devil, and she was like, yeah, she was like, I'm the Crimson Demon, and the Devil is my boyfriend, but he's out on the battlefield as of right now. And they were relieved to hear this, and they're like, so who's to Joni? And she's like, well, one is Kushina Uzumaki, and the other is Kakashi Hatake, known as the Copy Ninja. And they were like, oh, the Leaf Village are helping us. They're like, well, they're useless. They're not going to really be doing anything. We don't need their help. And they're like, was expected as the Crimson Demon. And she says, well, I have to go. And she disappears. Let's get to Naruto and Itachi. Naruto and Itachi are floating in the air. Naruto, a little flashback. Naruto made a jutsu for chakra to be able to walk on, like, basically like chakra control for walking on walls or water. Basically chakra control for walking on air. Naruto doesn't have any chakra anymore because again he expelled it all out of his body. But since he's omnipotent, he knows things that others wouldn't know, and he just made it. And he tells Itachi how to use it. Now Itachi knows how to use it. And the flashback. And they're just standing there looking, and Saber appears, and Cerberus grew to his normal size because he'll be participating. And Naruto says, well, I will be help. Naruto says I'll take the Jinchuriki. Now the Three Tails has betrayed the Mist Village. Well, it didn't betray it. Let's say their Obito had helped the Sound Village by putting the Three Tails under a Genjutsu. So yeah, and Naruto says I'll take care of the Three Tails. Naruto says I'll take care of the Three Tails, and then that's when Saber says no. Cerberus wants to do it, and Cerberus smiles and licks his lips, and all three heads, they're hungry, and they think that it's a snack. And he says, fine. He says, let's get started, and they all disappear. Cerberus is charging towards the Three Tails, and he rams into it, and it flies into the water. And then Naruto does has a pet, but his pet, Cerberus is Saber's pet, but Naruto's pet, is just missing. Not missing, it's not with him right now. He'll come up in a few. And so, Naruto and Saber and Itachi are just taking out ninjas left and right from the Sound Village, and they're just demolishing them. And Cerberus used these three beams that come out of his mouth. They're just bright red, and he splits the ocean in half. And the Three Tails is trying to run underwater, and Cerberus smiles, and he runs up into the air, and he's looking down. His eyes can see through everything, and he's looking down, and he shoots the beams into the water, hitting the Three Tails, and he runs down and grabs the Three Tails by the tail with his jaw and swings it around and throws it in the air, and he bites it, and he holds it down. But then the Three Tails gets enraged and pushes him back. And Cerberus is thinking he's gonna probably need help now. He could take on a tail beast, but flashback. Cerberus, for training with for him, Godzilla, and Ghidorah for training, Naruto told Cerberus that his training is going to be he's going to hold back half his power. But he was sparring against Naruto's pet, which is Fenrir. Yes. Fenrir is Naruto's pet, and this Fenrir it has grown massive with his black mane and his red eyes. And well, it's not really a mane, his black fur and his red eyes, and he's looking and he tells Cerberus that he'll have to do better. And then when they clash, they're destroying they're almost destroying the dimension, and Naruto is just sitting there watching. He says that's enough. And they stop, and then yeah, they go eat. And that's the end of that flashback. And so he says, if Fenrir was out here, this would have been better since he doesn't really do any work. And Fenrir is actually on Naruto's shoulder. Like Cerberus is. And Fenrir jumps off and says he'll go help him. And Naruto says fine. But they do this telepathically because outside of Naruto's dimension, they don't talk. They use a telepathic link. And he grows to his original size, which is the size of Cerberus, and they both smile since most of their power is being blocked so they don't destroy the earth. And for training, he runs and he bites three tails, and he steps on its shell, and Cerberus says, I could have done that better. And Fenrir says, yeah, right. And then they start to fight, and Naruto says, that's enough. Just kill it or do something with it. And then Cerberus says, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to eat it? And he was like, nah, it looks nasty. And they just pick it up and throw it into the sea. And then Naruto says, Fenrir wiped them all out. And Saber says, you too, Cerberus. And she just jumps back up and she pulls out a book and she's just reading it while Cerberus and Fenrir fires up beams, and just Cerberus fires up his red and black destroyer beam, and Cerberus fires up his crimson red beams, and they just fire and eradicates every single ninja. And the Mist villagers sing this, and they're in awe. And Fenrir says, I killed more than you. Cerberus says, no, I did. They're arguing telepathically. And then he says, we'll see next time. And then they jump. He jumps in the air, running back towards Naruto. And Cerberus runs back towards Saber. And Naruto and Saber petting them on the head. And they said, well, it's time to head back. Itachi says, wow, I wish I had a cool summon like that. And Naruto says, they're not our summons, they're our pets. And he says, cool, your summons must be stronger. He says, well, our summons are not as strong as them, but they are on par with them. And Itachi says, cool. He says, but don't you think I can get a cool pet like that? And Naruto says, we'll talk about it once we get back to the village. He says, okay. So yeah. Sorry guys. They head down. And Naruto says, Mina or Maya, we have completed the mission. You will relay this to, you'll go back and sign the peace treaty with Lord Dunzo and all. I mean, not Lord Dunzo, with, Minato, the Hokage, and that is that. And then they leave. And when Naruto, Itachi, and them arrive back to the village, they say, "Are we forgetting something?" And not Mina, Saber says, "We're forgetting those two Jonins and those Genins," and they're like, "Oh snap!" And they go. Naruto goes back and grabs them all and brings them back. And Minato says, "How did the mission go?" And Naruto has to give his report, and he says it went well, Lord Hokage. Minato is wondering, who is this? He's in Danzo's Anbu. And he says, well, I have something else for you to do. And Danzo's in there, and he's like, what is it, Minato? What do you need my Anbu to do? And he says, I need him to take off his mask. And I need that girl to as well. And Itachi them says, well, that you can't do that. That's not allowed. Minato says, I can do whatever I want. I'm the Hokage. And Minato says, yeah, he's the Hokage. He can do whatever he wants. And Danzo and them are arguing like, Minato, how dare you? And he says, if we don't know who he is, we have no leverage over him. He can betray us at any time. And Danzo says, fine if you really want to know. Naruto says fine if you really want to know. And him and Saber takes off their mask. And Saber's still reading her book when she takes off her mask. And she says, Naruto, I'm gonna need a new book. And everyone's looking in awe. He's like, Naruto, you damn demon brat. What are you doing? And Naruto says, I'm an Umbu, remember? And you asked me to take off my mask. And Kushina and Minma and Mito are asking, how did you get that strong? And Minma tries to attack Naruto, but Fenrir got so pissed that he grew to an average size of 6 feet. Because that's not his real height. He's probably like 600 feet tall. Or no, he's the size of King Ghidorah. Yeah, that's his real size. And so is Cerberus. And Cerberus is the size of Godzilla. And he says, and Cerberus is standing there, growling. And Mito tries her luck and tries to attack Saber. But, Cerberus appears, same size as, Fenrir, and they're looking down, growling. And Saber is still reading her book. And Naruto says, Hokage, we still, have to respect us. We are Anbu. We have done nothing wrong. And your children just attack us. And he's like, you mean your brothers and sisters? He says, no, I mean your children, Lord Hokage. And Minato says, you are not allowed to do any Anbu work until you pass the Chunin exams. And Naruto and Danzo, they smiled under there. Danzo and Naruto smiled maniacally. Saber and Itachi know why. Because Naruto has planned this to happen. Saber doesn't care. She's just reading her book. And Itachi's like, these two are evil. They got those like funny type evil faces. And he says, fine, Lord Hokage, I will participate in the Chunin exams. And he says, well, you're not allowed to do any Anbu work. And he says, okay. Before the Chunin exams start, it's going to be 1 month of training. And yeah, so we start on the first training day. Skip over to Minma and Mito and them. They're like, Naruto has all of these strong abilities. We should have them as well. And Dryden says, fine, let's start training you in Sage mode and all of that. And she said, not Kushina. Whew. And that's when Tsunade says, "I'll train you in Sage Mode for the slugs as well, Mito." And Kushina says, "I'll train you how to use the chakra chains." And Minato says, "I'll train you, Minma, to do the flying Rajin." And everyone was surprised. Mito says, "Oh, I want to learn it too." But Minato says, "Well, Minma actually has the highest affinity for it out of you two." And she says, "Fine." And she go off and they go off training. Oh, and they learn the Rasengan and all of that, blah blah blah. And then they go to let's skip over to Naruto. Naruto's like, "Well, we don't need to train. There's nothing to train into. I mostly master all my abilities." And he says, but first he tells all his assassins, except for the ones that are watching Saber, he says, "Go out and scout." He says, "Go out and obtain information about what the test is going to be about." And he says, and they nod their heads and they disappear. So right guys, that's where I'm gonna leave it off. Yeah, peace out. I have school in the morning. Sorry.